Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back for all the subbies and all the people that are, not watching this for the first time. And welcome if it's your first time on this channel. I hope you stay. I hope you consider subscribing. And yes, so today we are going to be doing a birth story. My story starts at my 39-week doctor's appointment. Basically, I went in for a routine check, which was something that at 35 weeks I had to go in almost every week. Not almost every week. It's just for basic checks like your blood pressure. They measure your stomach and your weight, and other than that they also do a non-stress test for your baby. So I think a non-stress test, to me, a simple explanation is basically they're monitoring your baby's heart rate, and also in relation to the movement that it makes, they're trying to make sure that your baby's heart rate is okay, and yeah, stuff like that. Your baby is not stressed. It's in the name. This was the only time I had been for a doctor's appointment by myself in the whole 39 weeks, so this was a bit different from most doctor's appointments. We did the regular stuff, and then the last thing that I had to do was get the same non-stress test. I went for my NST. I sat in, I strapped myself into all the gizmos that were there, and I sat and I waited and I waited and I waited. Long story short, I went back to the doctor. I showed her the thing, and she was like, well, your test doesn't look so good, the baby's not moving so much, so maybe you have to stay in the hospital. And I'm like, stay in the hospital? No. I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna stay here, sis. I think my baby's just tired, or maybe it's sleeping or something, but I don't think this is cause for me to be admitted. And she's like, okay, fine, yeah, right, maybe the baby is tired. So what we're gonna do is, seeing as it's almost lunchtime, you eat lunch. Before you eat lunch, go upstairs to get a COVID test. And yeah, I'm going to basically open up I don't know how to translate it, but direct translation is like, I'll make an order for you to live in the hospital, like to be checked into the hospital. And I'm like, I'm not gonna get checked in, but go ahead and do what you want to do. So she did that, and I did my COVID test, and I ordered myself some lunch. I sat, I ate, and when it was 1:30 again, when everyone came back from lunch, I went back for my NST test, and lo and behold, there was no activity. Usually when I would do this test, and if the graph is not really looking the way it's supposed to look, I would probably eat something or drink something. I felt like the baby used to move more when I eat. It was like, yay, food, or maybe no food. I don't know what the reaction was to food, but there was a reaction usually when I ate. So I decided to eat, obviously following the doctor's advice as well, and nothing changed. It was the same. And also usually they give you oxygen, like just to supplement. I don't know what it does, but just to help you out, they give you some oxygen to see if it will improve. They gave me the oxygen, nothing really happened. So yeah, the result was the same, and then she told me, yeah, it's not so good. So if you go home, if you decide not to be in hospital today and you decide to do this test tomorrow, you have to continue monitoring your baby's heart rates to make sure it's not moving too much or moving too little, and then it must move at least 3 times in an hour. So not moving so much, it's like struggling for air, or if your baby suddenly starts to move too much, it means that it's struggling as well. And I'm like, okay. So now I have to monitor, because I said I don't want to be admitted, because in my mind I'm thinking, if I get admitted today and then I stay in hospital for a couple of days, just being monitored and monitored, again when I come back to have this baby, I'll have to be staying in hospital. And I just didn't want to be in hospital in general. It was just like, if I'm not gonna have this baby today or tomorrow or the next day, there's no point in me being here. There's no point in me just being here doing nothing. It's boring by myself. So yeah, this was a Thursday, and then at this point, obviously I already have my COVID test done, because I was told if you don't pass the COVID test, you can't be admitted. Of which I was thinking, if I don't get admitted because I'm testing positive for COVID, are you going to tell me to give birth at my house, or what's your guys' plan? still I insisted that, I think let me try again tomorrow, because I don't think I can, stay here and just be doing nothing in hospital, because you guys haven't even said what you're going to be doing if I stay here. I'm pretty sure I'll just be lying in bed perpetually. Friday I came back, but this time when I came back to the hospital, I had my handbag, which I had just like my folder with like all my medical stuff, and I had my baby's bag in case now like I really have no choice and I have to like stay in hospital. I had my baby bag packed, but I didn't pack anything for myself. So I came to the hospital Friday morning. I did all the tests again, and it was the same. So really at this point I had no choice. I had to check myself into the hospital. The doctor was like, yeah, don't worry about it, just all the things that I gave you yesterday when I told you to stay in the hospital, you just go and use those same things. Go to the inpatient department and check yourself in. They will be expecting you. So I went to the inpatient department. They took all my information. I checked in. I went upstairs, and then there was this, what do you call it, there's like a nurse's room, which they do like, before you check in, they talk to you, they inform you of the options that you have, what type of a room you want to get. Do you want to get like a single room, a VIP room, a double room, and then also even with the double room and each of these room options, there was a bit of a difference. There's the windows that face the sun. There's the windows that face where the sun rises, and then there's the windows that don't really get a lot of sunlight. So if your room is on the side where the sun will be coming in, those rooms are more expensive than the ones where the sun won't be coming in so much. I like to watch the sunrise. I'm very much a morning person, so I chose the rooms with the sun shine. I picked a room. Then I had to now start waiting for somebody to come and clean up the room where I was supposed to be staying. So in this time as well, I had to sign lots of documents for the baby. Like when the baby is born, we're going to give such and such a vaccine. Do you consent? I was like, yes. When the baby is born, do you know that you can't keep the placenta? You can't take it away. You can't take it home, blah, blah, blah. So basically all these forms were in Chinese, and then somebody had to sit with me and then translate and tell me what everything meant. And yeah, I would sign. Vaccines, they also ask you if you want your baby to get any, like when they are born, they'll be bathed or they'll be cleaned anyways. So there's like 5 different massages that they give the baby, and you have to pick which ones you want. You pick which ones you want, and then for each of them you are charged separately, and then they do them once. So if you want it done more than once, also that you indicate, I want my baby to have all this, all these extra services, and for such and such a time. So I had to do that as well. And at the end of this process, my room was ready, so I went into the room. I hadn't carried my stuff, and all I had the charger for myself, so at least I had entertainment from my phone. And then I checked into the room and I sat there, and now I was texting everyone to be like, hey guys, I'm in hospital now. Well, basically I was texting my partner, I was texting my sister, and just letting them know that I have been admitted, and I'm waiting for a doctor to come see me and tell me what the next steps are. But I think we're gonna have this baby soon, because at this point I had also started having contractions because of the membrane sweep that was done. Also, they did another sweep while I was admitted. So the Friday of it, I was in quite a bit of pain, but I spent most of the day just relaxing, ordering food, and lying down and experiencing pain, and just like the whole time. Also, one of the things that you have to sign in the paperwork is about the baby's hearing test. They would carry out a hearing test. They try to get as much paperwork out of the way as possible, because after you have a baby, you're probably tired, or anything could have happened to you in the process of having a baby. So you sign everything in advance while your brain is still intact. On Friday, I was in hospital doing nothing much except being on my phone, ordering food, and preparing my mind. At this point, my partner was now on his way back from where he went, because he went somewhere. He was there in the evening, and I spent the whole day by myself. I told my sister as well, and she was also somewhere in the world, and she also came back to be with me. Because of COVID, I was only allowed one visitor, and my visitor had to have passed a COVID test to be let upstairs. At this point, okay, honestly, I had like 2 visitors still, but they both had to pass a COVID test. And fast forward now to Saturday. Yes, they've done the membrane sweep, the doctors have come in, they're all nice and chipper and whatever, and they're like, okay, so like, you know, this is what's going on. Your baby is big, your baby is ready to be born. There is no real reason why we should keep it in if it's, you know, like stressed in there, and you know, there's no real reason why you should stay pregnant. So you can have a baby today. We can induce, or we can schedule a C-section for you. But if we induce labor and you decide to have the baby naturally, there's all these risks that, you know, we might, you know, break a shoulder or something, or you know, you might have to, I mean, there could be lots of tearing, and we have to use a, I've forgotten what they called it, but it's like a big jack for your it's like a big thing to open. It's like a big tool to just open your body, and I saw it and it looked very horrifying, and I was like, no it's not going to be me experiencing this, no. And
now that I'm reviewing this, I actually realized that what I saw was not the forceps. I had seen some other tool lying around somewhere, and I immediately assumed, when they started talking about using forceps, I was like, it must be that thing, and I won't kill myself. I will not let that touch my body.
Yeah, they gave me my options basically, and they said, okay, you guys can think about it. So yeah, I spoke to my partner and we were like, okay, so what should we do now? Yeah, I consulted my aunt, I consulted my mom, and yeah, everyone was suggesting, you know, just do a C-section, because it's going to be a lot for your body and for the baby to handle. I decided to have a natural birth. So I was like, okay, you know what, we're just going to do this C-section. And at this point I had been misinformed that, you know, a C-section is easy, like, you know, you just basically lie down there, you know, they take out the baby, bada bing bada boom, you know, you have a kid. It's like, why would you want to go through the stress of screaming and, you know, ripping yourself apart when they can just cut you open and take the baby out? So I was like, okay, fine, let's go with the same option. Let's just, you know, let's just get the baby out. I mean, like they said, there's no real reason to continue being pregnant for nothing. Then I was like, okay, fine. I think I let the nurse know, because they're like, okay, you let the nurse know when you've made a decision. So we told the nurse, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead with the C-section. And she let the doctor know, and this is when things started to move really, really fast. The doctor came in and explained the steps of what was going to happen next. A nurse will come in and prep you, then we'll put in a catheter, then, you know, there'll be anesthetic, then the surgery will begin. It's gonna last, you know, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, somewhere there. And yes, so she explained, you know, roughly what's about to happen, and she said, you know, the catheter, putting in the catheter is a bit uncomfortable. So like, a catheter is a peeing tube. I didn't know this before. I've heard this word many times, but I just didn't know what it actually meant. It was a peeing tube that they stick up so that, you know, you can pee from, and I really didn't know. I don't know why I didn't know this, but I didn't know it. Nurse came and then asked me, do you have, she came with a list of about 5 things that she said I needed to have, and she's asking me, do you have this and that? And I'm like, I don't know these things, neither can I read your handwriting, so can you write there, can you type it on my phone? And she's like, there's no time for that. She just said, okay, you tell your partner to, you know, go to the shop. There's a shop just outside there. Just, he must present this list, and then they will, you know what to give you. And that's exactly what he did. He got the list, and then while he was getting the list, the nurse now rolls in. She's already called someone to pick me up, and yeah, she's like, you know, let's go, blah blah blah. And I'm like, where are we going? And then they're like, let's go, we need to go to the 5th floor, blah. Like, it was so fast paced. And yeah, so then I called my partner, and I'm like, hey, I think we're going to surgery now. He said, you know, tell them to wait for me. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm like, you guys, you need to wait, I can't go by myself, so let's wait. But you know, at this point we're already moving. I just told him where to find me, and yeah, he had gone out to buy the stuff, and he was back before anything happened anyways. So we got to the theater. Nobody was allowed with me in the actual theater. I was by myself, just me and the doctors, and even in there they were moving so fast. This was my first surgery ever. It wasn't like, the way I imagined. It wasn't like Grey's Anatomy. Let's just say that it was not like Grey's Anatomy, but it was pretty close, and also I think it was just very well orchestrated. Yeah, it was well organized, because everybody knew what they were doing. They were like here and there and there. It was a bit overwhelming as well, because I'm like, it made me more nervous, because nobody was giving anything a second thought except me. I'm like, guys, like, slowly explain what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to be, and all of that. Okay, you might notice a small difference in the lighting and stuff. That's because it's late now, it's dark. But yes, let's carry on with our story. So one thing as well I forgot to mention is I was told I can't eat 8 hours before the surgery. So my last meal had been at 4 a.m. I didn't sleep the whole night because I was in pain, and I just couldn't sleep. I didn't have sleep. I had cookies at 4 a.m. and that was the last thing I ate. And then basically this was around 8 when we were having this discussion, me and the doctors, and then they told me, you can't eat for 8 hours prior to your surgery. And I had Subway waiting, I had the sandwich waiting for me, I had KFC waiting for me, and I was like, okay, let me just have my food now, and then we'll start counting my 8 hours after then. And then my partner was like, no, you've already gone 4 hours without eating. Why don't you just go for the surgery and then eat afterwards? So I was like, okay, fine, I will do that. So I just spent in fact, I didn't even take a whole 4 hours of not eating. But yeah, I just decided to take his advice and not eat. But after surgery, they're like, no, you actually can't eat whatever you want. For the first 3 days, I think the whole time I was in hospital, I only had liquids, like soup. I basically only had soup for 4 days. And on the 5th day is when I was leaving the hospital. I think that's when I had pizza. I ordered pizza because I was like, you know what, I need to free myself from this bondage, child. Now I'm going back to the theater. So I was in the operating room. The catheter was put in. I was lying down on the bed. There was a couple of doctors in the room, quite a few, or surgeons. I don't know if I should call them surgeons or doctors. I had one lady who was holding my hand. She couldn't speak a lot of English, but she tried to at least talk to me and stuff, and I was like, yeah, please just talk to me because I need a distraction from lying down here. I had a really huge belly, and then they tell me, you have to curl up in a ball, and I'm like, how? But yeah, they helped me to sort of curl up so that my spine would be exposed, I guess, and then they can insert the anesthetic in my back. And when they first started this process, I could still feel pain. I could still, and it took long as well. It took long to put in. It took long to settle in, and I was so scared I was going to be, lying there and feeling all the pain, and I don't know, not able to say it, or what if it wears out. I was nervous. I was really, really nervous. But eventually all the whole process was done. Oh yeah, and they said, you can't move while we're putting it in, and in my mind I'm like, if I move I'll be paralyzed. They forgot to just put the fine print there. They just forgot to say the last part, if you move you will be paralyzed. I mean, this is basically from all my years of watching TV and reading stories. I was just like, the only logical thing is that if I move, I'm probably compromising my spine. I'll never be able to walk again. So I was really nervous about staying really, really still. I actually don't know what happens if you move, but I assume it's nothing good. The surgery then started, and there was a curtain obviously covering here. It lasted about an hour 30 minutes. They took out the baby and I heard him cry, then I cried. Because in China you can't check the sex of your baby. So before the surgery they asked me what do you think you're having, or what are you hoping for? And I was like, I think it's a girl. And they're like, okay, fine. So when the baby came out and everything, the doctor was like, it's not a girl. I was like, what? Why did you create so much suspense? Why did you what was that for? But anyways, I was still happy. I was really surprised because I was quite convinced at some point that it was going to be a girl, but not disappointed. I was like, okay, fine, this is interesting. We're going to see, we're going to see where this takes us. They brought him like basically near me so I could see him, and I was amazed. I think I was really, really amazed. I'm like, wow, that came out of my body just now. That's my baby. But yeah, he cried a lot. I cried a lot. And then eventually they were like, you know, you can sleep. And I was like, you're right. And we slept. And by the time I was waking up, the surgery was over. When they took out the baby, honestly, it felt like a ton of bricks was being lifted from my chest. I don't even know how to describe it, but it felt like something large has been taken off me. Something very, very large. And they rolled me out of the room, and I was back in my room where I was before I had the baby. And tada, that was how I had a baby. That is how, yeah, that's how it went. That's basically my birth story. I had this drip that I was supposed to, they told me when you feel pain, just like, you know, turn it up. And I thought it was a painkiller. It actually turns out it was like a sedative or something. I don't know what to call it. Yeah, a sedative. But basically every time I would, you know, like press on the drip and everything, I would just fall asleep. So for I think the first 2 days I was just in and out of sleep. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment section, and don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And yeah, let's wait for the next video. I'm still figuring out what to talk about in my next video, but yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.